Hey guys, this is Mr. H. Hey, I am doing the delta math, three properties with algebraic expressions. Basically, whenever you're doing algebraic manipulations with an expression, you're basically using these properties, whether you realize it or not. It's better if you realize it, but even if you don't, you can still solve this, but it's nice if you know what you're doing. Okay, so let's go. So each line we're going to go through from line 1 to line 2. So we have basically parentheses, a negative 10 plus 9x plus 2. And then what we do is we basically just reverse the order. So it's 9x plus, and we put this negative 10 inside of parentheses so that it's clear that it's a negative and not just a minus. But anyway, we just reverse the order. So this is just a commutative property of addition. Okay. Now, next thing is we go from line 2 to line 3. What did we do? Well, we regrouped. It was 9x plus this negative 10, but now it's a negative 10 plus 2. So remember, whenever you are when your parents want you to associate with a different number or a different letter, that's the associative property. So we are using the associative property of addition to make this happen. This is the associative property of addition. So let's submit this. All right, let's try another one. Okay, we got 3 lines here. Remember, this one is the easy one. Whenever you get rid of parentheses, you always are using the distributive property. So this first one is going to be the distributive property. We distributed the q times p and then the q times 3. And then now all we did here is we just reversed the order. We put the p in front of the q and we put the 3 in front of the q. So that's just an example of the commutative property twice. The commutative property of multiplication, because this is q times p, we made it p times q. This was q times 3, is 3 times q. So this is just 2 examples of the commutative property of multiplication. All right, got it. Okay, new problem. Let's try maybe one more. All right, again, we got rid of the parentheses by distribution. So we know that first step was distributive property. Now what do? We switch the order. Instead of it being n times m, it's now m times n. Instead of it being n times 2, it is now 2 times n. So that's an example of the associative, or excuse me, the commutative property of multiplication. That's what we're using. That's the same as the last one. Let's see if we got something else. Okay, this one, we've already done some of these, but I'm going to do this one. Look, the order of the letters haven't changed. It's M-O-N and it's also M-O-N here. But what we did is we're regrouping. We're now associating with different variables. So instead of associating with the M, the O is now associating with the N. So that's the example of the associative property of multiplication. And then within the parentheses, it was on, now it's no. So we reverse the orders of these 2 variables. So that's an example of the commutative property of multiplication. We just reverse the order. Remember, when you commute into work and then you turn around and go home from work, that's an example of a commute, the commutative property. When you regroup and you no longer associated with this variable, now you're associating with this variable, that's associative property. And when you get rid of the parentheses altogether, that's a distributive property. Okay, let's submit this. Let's see what this next one is. Yeah, it's the same thing. All right, so that's it. I'm going to stop this and post it.